going to teach you how to turn this into this sourdough bread. Baked in that, a Dutch oven. Let's do this. Alright, so in here, I made this yesterday, this bread dough, and I'll get to that later, but this is super easy. I did a test run to see if I could do it, and I can, which means you can too. So this is sourdough starter. I used almost all of it yesterday, but if you don't have one, all it is 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, or 1 tablespoon all-purpose, 1 tablespoon whole wheat, and then 2 tablespoons of purified water. Nothing chlorinated. You can't do anything chlorinated because it will kill the yeast. Super important. And then let it sit for 24 hours. This is a 7-day thing initially. After that, it's piece of cake. So you just want a lid, a jar with a loose lid, because it's going to create gases and you want them to be able to escape. I'll show you what I'm going to do there too. But first, I'm just going to take into my starter 1/4 cup of flour and 1/4 cup of bottled water. You just stir it all together. Now, when you're stirring, do not use anything metallic. You want to use a wooden spoon handle, or like right now I'm doing a whisk. Not a whisk, a little scraper. Just make sure you get it all combined. Now, as the week progresses, you may see a little water sitting on top, and that's perfectly good and normal. It should also have a little smell, just a yeasty smell, nothing bad. If it smells rank, something's wrong, throw it away, start over. So that's done. You want to feed your yeast every day. You're going to need 1.5 cups of starter at the end of the week. So you can do it by tablespoons or you can do it by 1/4 cups. I'm going to do it by 1/4 cups for a little bit. And then on Saturday, we're going to mix the bread together, and I'll show you what happens there. But I'll go every day with you for 7 days. Today's Sunday. Once you have your starter established, like I said, it's going to take a week. After that, you just put it in the refrigerator and it stalls the growth of the active sourdough yeast. Then you only have to feed it once a week. You can keep it in your fridge for years and years and years. And I'll show you how to do that too. All you do is basically dump half of it out and replace it with fresh flour and water. And the part you dump out is what you make bread with, biscuits, sourdough pancakes. There's all kinds of possibilities. So because I want this to breathe, I'm just going to put that cloth over it, and one of the Mrs. little headband things, ties, and I'm going to set it on the counter outside of the refrigerator at room temperature. And then tomorrow I will come back and I'm going to feed it again. Super easy. It only takes a couple minutes a day, if probably 1 minute a day. So don't think I don't have 7 days, because you have 1 minute a day out of 7 days to do this. So see you tomorrow. Good morning. Guess what? I forgot to feed it last night. But this is a good thing about this sourdough starter. It doesn't matter. You can see that it's starting to get bubbly and stuff in there. So let's feed it this morning. What do you say? Here we go. Another 1/4 cup. And then a 1/4 cup of bottled water, not out of the tap, because the chlorine will kill your yeast. Alright, stir it and scrape down the sides. If it's a little bit lumpy, that's not a big deal. You just basically want to make sure it's stirred in. Oh yeah. And smell it. It's going to smell a little sour and yeasty, which is where you want it. Alright, we'll see you next time. Day 3, if you can see inside there, it's pretty bubbly, which is a very good thing. Bubbles are good. So once again, we're going to add a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour and a 1/4 cup of bottled water. And that's it. We're going to mix it up. And it might bear repeating, but on Saturday, when I make our dough, which will be day 7, I'm going to take out what I need. I'm going to put some more in to refeed it, just flour and water. Mix it up. And then that's going to go in the refrigerator. And the reason is it slows down the fermenting in the yeast. Then you only have to feed it once a week. Pretty cool. Alright, see you on day 4. Alrighty, back to sourdough. So I didn't show you a couple days because I figured, you know, you got the gist of it. Equal parts of water and flour, stir it, stir it, stir it with purified bottled water or well water, whatever. This is day 6 and it's a good little amount. So remember how I told you that you will only have to, once you get your starter established, which this is, then you only have to feed it once a week. And today is that once a week. So what I'm going to do is, I need 1.5 cups of starter for this dough, for this sourdough that I'm going to make. So I'm going to pour out 1.5 cups. Yeah. Alright. Now because sometimes your starter jar will get gross around the edges, I'm going to start a new jar today. So let's switch hands. And let's just pour all the rest of this in a new jar. And then what you're going to do every week, you want to take out half and then replace it with half of flour and water, bottled water. That's it. Now you're going to get little dry crusties when you're doing that, when you're first starting it up in the week. That looks good. So because there's active yeast in this, I can go ahead and just add my flour and water. So I'm going to do 1 cup, and I'm going to spill it everywhere. Even though it's a wide mouth, you know, that's what I like to do, make a mess. And because I took out 1.5 cups and this is a bigger jar, I think I'm going to put in 1.5 cups. So I have the same amount to use next week if I want to bake another bread. How about that? How about that? Let me find 1/2 cup. Measure. There we go. That's not even right. There we go. Now let's do 1.5 cups of bottled water. Remember, chlorine kills your yeast. Alright. And that's just room temperature water, by the way. Ooh, I'm going to fill this baby up. Which is pretty awesome. Alright, let's give it a stir and see if she goes down a little bit. Yep. Let's finish that. Alright. Got to make sure it's mixed in well. No big flour clumps.
And no metal?
No metal. If it's a little lumpy, that's okay. Alright, there's my starter in a nice clean jar for the fridge. Because last thing you want is some ugly looking, skankily, scraggly looking thing. So now I'm just going to put this on there. It's just a paper napkin. And just enough to cover it and hold it tight. The paper napkin will still let air bubbles come out, carbon dioxide come out. Now I'm going to put this in the drawer of my refrigerator, and we'll see you next week. All right, sourdough. In this bowl I have 2 cups of water, again bottled water, and I'm going to add my 1.5 cups of starter. I want to get it all up in there. This is actually going to be made in a Dutch oven. It does not get any easier than this recipe. There's no kneading involved, nothing like that anyway. Except with your hands. But it's going to be super easy. Now, you want to start to mix this together with your hands, because if you looked at the lid of that jar, there's little dry crusties. So you're just feeling around while you're mixing it for the little dry crusties. And guess what? I don't have any. So last week I made this. I had to test it out before I made the video. And I used regular all-purpose flour, made sourdough. It was awesome. Can you get me the sesame seeds? So this time, I'm going to try it with bread flour. So I need 5 cups of bread flour. So I'm going to add a little bit to get it started, about half. I'm just going to mix it around just to get it started, get it incorporated. Then I'm going to add to this 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of sugar. Get that yeast again, something to eat. Then I'm going to put the rest of the flour in. Bam. Now comes the fun part. You just mix it up with your hands. Just keep on folding it in. Squeeze it a couple times in there. And you're going to do this for a few minutes until it turns into a ball of dough. And not a floury ball, but a smooth ball of dough. I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. Okay, I've been doing it, just mixing it around, and I've added a little more flour because my dough felt pretty wet. And you want to be able to pick it up and move it around and mold it into a ball without it sticking to everything under the sun. So that's what I'm doing, getting some of it off my hands. And now it's going to be more easy, you see, to just knead it in the bowl. And see how I can pick it up now. So if your dough looks dry, depending on your climate, just keep working it for a little bit. And I bet you won't need to add any extra water. So you really should not. Just keep working it. So all I'm doing now is activating the yeast and the glutens and the bread flour. And so, give it a slap, and a tickle. Bam. And I think we're golden. So, here's my Dutch oven. It's a really good sprayed Dutch oven. And I'm just going to put this little, keep in mind how big that is, because it's going to more than double in size. It sure is. So, I asked my sweetheart to get me some sesame seeds because I'm going to try that on top. Booyah. And on the sides. As it rises, it'll go up. the sides. Now that we're done with that, you just slap a lid on it, and it's going to proof in this for 16 hours. That's why it's Saturday, I make my dough, and on Sunday, I bake my dough. So it's in the afternoon. 16 hours will be in the AM morning. If you go longer, it won't hurt a thing. And when you see what this looks like after 16 hours, you're going to be amazed. And then we bake it, and we're done. We're ready to eat. So I will see you in 16 hours. Well, it's been about 16 and a half hours, 17 hours. And check it out. Look how much that has risen up. Remember, it was a little ball in there. So I've preheated my oven to 450. I'm going to leave the lid on to steam it. A lot of times when you make sourdough bread, you have to squirt it with a spray bottle. But with this lid on in this Dutch oven, it steams by itself and you don't have to. So I'm going to bake it for 20 minutes. I'll show you what it looks like then. Okay, it's been in there 20 minutes. You can see it's even gotten a bit bigger and it's looking good. So I'm going to put it back in for 15 minutes. And then we have sourdough bread. All right. Let's check this out. Oh yeah, look at that. Can I just tell you, what is better than the smell? What's more comforting than the smell of baking bread? I don't really know of any. So, because I sprayed this well, it should pop out really good. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, fell right out. Woo. Alright. Check that out. Look how the sesame seeds have baked on top of it. It's going to provide a nice little nutty crunch. You can see the bottom. And then I'm just going to let this sit out for a little bit. Get that even crustier. If you want, you can bake it for a few more minutes and make it even crustier. It's a good thing this is done because that's all I have left of last week's loaf. Anyway, I hope you really try this. Please check out my channel. We have all kinds of recipes on there. I'm sure there's something that you would like. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button. Have a great day. Put a little bit of work in for the first week and make this bread, and then every week you can have fresh baked bread fumigating up your house. It's going to smell wonderful. Have a good day. Bye.